Hey guys, what's going on? So a couple days ago on the first loot boosting event thing, I went ahead and used another loot booster to see what was going on with it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case there was any confusion over what exactly two loot boosters do, it's basically like 200% of your reward. So say you're doing chapter 7 upper dungeon, you normally get 15 fragments. With one loot booster you get 30, and with two loot boosters you get 45. The cool thing about this event is that it is 1 full hour of loot boosting, and while of course normal loot boosters are also a full hour, when you're doing the loot booster method, which I think is the only real good use for a loot booster, it's basically broken up into two 30-minute segments. So basically most of the time you only have time to run your fragments, depending on how many runs you're doing. But with this, it's actually pretty cool because you can run all your fragments, and then you can run Conquest, Tower of Challenge, and then with any remaining time you can just run story mode. So that's what I did. Here you can see me running my fragments. I ran 20 times, and in total that got me 900 fragments. I refreshed 3 times, so for 100, 200, and then 400 for a total of 700. After my fragment runs, I did one run in the gold tower place before I realized that loot booster doesn't have an effect there, I think at least. And then I went to the Tower of Challenge, used my 5 cubes there. Unfortunately, I didn't have any more cubes, and this is where the double loot boosting thing would come actually a lot more in value if you had some saved up cubes, because then you can spend any extra time using all the rest of your cubes instead of running story mode, because story mode is still kind of cool. You can get some extra deluxe potions that way, but definitely using your extra cubes during this 1 hour, because you will actually have time then instead of a traditional loot boost. So after the Tower of Challenge, I went and did all of my conquests, and since it was 2 loot boosters, I got a total of 540 extra large EXP potions. And on chapter 7, I actually refreshed once after doing my initial 3 runs, because the value there is pretty crazy. So I got 180 deluxe potions total, and then after my chapter 7 conquest runs, I just did story mode for the remaining 15 minutes it was, and I got 45 more deluxe potions from that. Of course, some other random drops like the Stardust boxes, a few essence here and there, but the main thing was the deluxe potions there. So now the question is if it's worth it to use an extra loot booster so you can have this double loot boost effect. I think not really. I think it's mostly worth it if, one, you have a lot of Tower of Challenge cubes saved up. So then I think that by itself would be enough to justify another loot booster, because you can get a lot of fragments if you're the type that needs any random artifacts, maybe somewhat newer. Or if it's Saturday or Sunday, where you get 10 keys for upper dungeon, because then if you refresh 3 times, that's a total of 25 entries, which will get you 1125 fragments for those same 700 rubies that I spent and got only 900 for. So I knew the trade-off wouldn't really be worth it, but I wanted just to use the loot booster and, I don't know, just play around with it, since I had quite a few anyway, and since I'm going to be going for the raid thing, I'll get like 10 more, so I think it's fine. I'll be doing another one tonight since it is Saturday, and I believe we do have 10 keys for the upper dungeon, and then in that case, I think either way, it's still worth it. I still think it's maybe not as ruby efficient, maybe a little bit less than using it as you typically would from Saturday to Sunday, so you could have like 10 extra keys. So personally for me, it definitely will be worth it to use a loot booster on Saturday and Sunday individually, because then I also get to run conquests for those extra potions, and I also get to run a bit of story mode and whatnot without any real rush. Because if I'm going to try and do 25 runs and then do anything else on Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be very tight. Of course, I probably wouldn't refresh 3 times the upper dungeon if I am not doing a double loot booster. So that's my thoughts on that. So in summary, what I got by doing a double loot boost on basically any random day that a double loot boost would be available, I got 900 fragments, 114 artifact pieces, 540 extra large EXP potions, 180 deluxe potions, plus 45 more deluxe potions from story mode. And that was a total cost of 800 rubies, 700 for the fragment runs and 100 for the conquest, and then another 500 rubies if you're going to count the loot booster. And of course, just using the event wouldn't have used up a loot booster, but then you can cut everything into 2/3, so 600 fragments instead of 900, etc. So depending on on how much you need fragments or how fast you want to get fragments, it's more or less worth it. So like if we're talking purely efficiency, like fragment to ruby ratio, then what you want to do is never refresh at all, because that costs rubies, and ultimately the first 5 runs of Upper Dungeon are free. So the maximum fragment to ruby ratio is just doing your 5 runs daily. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Gonna do another double loot boost tonight because we get 10 keys, and I'll do another one tomorrow because cool, I like getting fragments fast. I don't know if I'd feel the same way if I actually had to buy loot boosters, cause I just feels like I have enough right now, so I'm not too stressed about it. But that's how I feel right now. So yeah, tell me what you think about it in the comments down below. Leaving a like if you happen to enjoy would also be greatly appreciated. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.